1, 2. I think we're on live right now. I thank everyone for tuning in. This is Jamil Salib Zamir out of Manning, South Carolina. I apologize for my voice, but again, marijuana smoke and me do not get along. I actually get a lung infection and I only have one lung. So for anyone that's doing that around me or near me, especially in my neighborhood, I'm going to fight you because I'm fighting for my life. I don't give a goddamn who with you, how it work. I don't care. I've asked nicely as a man should ask. And I mean, if you're so addicted to this stuff, do it in your own house, do it on the other side of the house, do it someplace else. But it's affected me. So I have a lung infection right now with my good lung. I don't have but one lung. And so I apologize for my slurriness today, but we have got to get this message down today as promised I would. Today is the three shadows or the three demons, or they could be three gods, three messengers, depending upon how you perceive them. I want to say this first to everyone who is fasting for Ramadan. Ramadan Mubarak. Your response to me is Ramadan Kareem. For all of you that don't understand what the fast is, that means that before sunlight, we stop drinking and eating, and until the sun goes down, we don't drink or eat. But not only do we not drink or eat, we don't get in arguments. We don't smoke cigarettes. We don't smoke marijuana. We don't do no lean, no nothing. We don't have sexual relations. Anything that may control us in our daily life, we don't do until sun up to sundown. Now, if you're traveling or if you're ill, you have an exception. I'm ill, so I go until 4 o'clock and then I stop because I have illnesses that I have to deal with. But if you're healthy and you can, please observe the fast, because what the fast does, number one, is it shows you what you're addicted to. Those things that you can't do without for 8 hours or more, you're addicted to them. And so now we have to try and change the patterns of our addiction and get into something now. Christians fast, every religion fasts, but for some reason we find a problem with Muslims, and we're going to stop that. We're going to check that today and from now on out. You are not going to put every problem on Muslims or on Buddhists as if though Christianity is the greatest thing that ever lived. It's not. We were enslaved under Christianity. They still burned the cross. And it wasn't Christ who said Christianity. Constantine, read it for yourself in the Bible. Until Christ was dead and gone off of this plane, Constantine saw a vision of a cross, and over that cross he saw these words, in hoc signo vinces, which means with this sign we conquer. And since they were following Christ, they called themselves Christians. Christ never used the term. As Muslims of the teachings of Elijah Muhammad and other religious beliefs, we are taught to respect all of the prophets and messengers who come in the line of divine. We don't offend any of them. From Abraham to Jesus to Muhammad, we don't defend them. We don't offend them. So we're gonna have to really come down on this Bible Belt who thinks that everything, if it ain't the Lord Jesus Christ, you going to hell. Think about this for a minute. This is a part of the demons. Think about this for a minute. You go to prison. In prison, to protect yourself, you join the Muslims, because the Muslims are going to fight and protect each other. You find most of these brothers, when they're in prison, you see they got their Muslim hat on, and they change when they get out, because street and jail are different. But not all of them change. Some of them continue to follow the path of Islam. And following the path of Islam, they come from drug addicts to killers to murderers to upstanding citizens, a compliment to their community, compliment to themselves and their family. And then a Christian comes along and say, if you ain't following the Lord Jesus Christ, all of that don't matter. Yet this same Christian will turn a blind eye to their children killing and murdering. Most of them who are in the church right now, their children are gang members. But they turn a blind eye to that. Their children get a pass. Their children get a pass when they do wrong. They get a pass. But you destroy a person's life, man, who trying to do right and are an asset to society. You tell them if they're not doing it the way you do it as a Christian, they going to hell. Who told you that? Who gave y'all so much power with these degrees that y'all got from an institution or with the self-proclaimed title that you carry that makes you think you can tell everyone, people just trying to live right, and you come down on them because they don't accept Christ as their savior? Christ is a savior. Christ is a part of the line of divine of saviors from Abraham to Joshua to Job to all of the Daniel, all Samson, all of them are in the same line of divine. If you look up the transfiguration of Jesus Christ, he saw Muhammad, he saw Abraham, and he saw someone else in that transfiguration. Stop, please. If you're not intelligent enough to read the Bible for yourself, back to cover to cover and comprehend it and ask questions where you don't understand, please stop spewing poison. Because if Christianity was going to save society with all the churches we got in Manning, there wouldn't be a problem. I'm going to read something real quick. We're talking about the three demons, and I want to talk to you today about your children and how to protect them. True stories. But I want to read this first. That goes along with what I'm saying right now. If you can turn to, if you have a Bible, you turn to Mark. Let me get this out of my way. Not Mark 9:38 and through 41 of this is the New International Version of the Bible. Again, they just translated a little clearer so you can understand it. And this is the problem that I have with Christianity, not with Jesus. Get that clear. With those of you who claim to be so in tune with Christ that nobody else understands God but you. That's a joke. God has a direct line to everything that he creates. Jesus is not God. He said it. I and my Father are one. You get to him through the teachings and the sacrifices of Christ. And those sacrifices are what we're going to talk about today. But I want you to pay close attention. And I want you, by God's permission, to stop putting I understand you in the Bible. Y'all so scared of truth that y'all will die on a lie. And in Thessalonians, it talks about those who would rather hear a lie than the truth. That's in the Bible. We're going to pick it up today. So give me an hour, maybe 20 minutes, but I'm going to try to get it in an hour, but give me an hour and 20 minutes today. But let's read this. Mark 9:38 through 41 of the New International Version of the Bible. You could go to the same chapter in the King James Version of the Bible, and it's the same thing, just written a little different. Whoever is not against us is for us. Listen to this. Teacher, John said, we saw some driving out demons in your name, and we told him to stop because he was not one of us. Listen to what Jesus says. Do not stop him, Jesus said, for no one who does a miracle in my name can in the next moment say anything bad about me. For whoever is not against us is for us. Truly, I tell you, anyone who gives a cup of water in my name, because you belong to the Messiah, will certainly not lose his reward. But yet, we tell people that if they ain't with the Lord Jesus Christ, and if they don't do it this way or that way, they going to hell. But Jesus says, no, if they are not against us, they are for us. This is quality teachings from the God. But it's difficult for most of us to accept because we've been trained. And what fasting does is it clears your mind, your heart, and your soul so that you can accept something other than the poisons that you were given. Jamal Bryant once in Atlanta says that, quoting, we have more land than any church in Atlanta. We want to grow marijuana and get these young boys out there growing marijuana. So he wants to feed drugs to the young. He thinks that's the answer. And yet y'all will follow him like you followed the other pastor from Atlanta that died. that was sleeping with boys. But they get a pass. They get a glorious send away. I'm going to talk to you today about these shadow people, about these demons and they are not always demons. Sometimes they are gods. God sends them to attack us. I'm trying to find something real quick in Thessalonians. Tell us good things. Give us lies. I'm gonna try to find it real quick in Thessalonians, because I like to show you what I'm talking about, because y'all only listen to Joyce Myers with her Joker face lift. Some of what she's saying is true, yes, but then a lot of it is not true. A lot of it is personal and opinionated, because the job of most Christian ministers is to keep Christianity the only thing, and we need more. We need more. Our children need more. That's just a fact. So I'm going to talk to you today about, I can't find it right now, but I'm going to try to find it. I know I've said it before, but I'll find it later. We're going to move on. Give me a little bit of time. First, I want to say this. In the first 3 years of life is the most important time in our children's life. That's when their brain is forming. That's when a lot of activities in their mind is, I want to read this real quick. Why are the first 3 years important? The first 3 years of life are when a child's brain grows at a rapid rate. 80% of the brain is developed in the first 3 years. Now imagine if you are so addicted to marijuana or cigarettes or liquor or yelling or loud sex or scary movies or things that disturbs the brain of the child. Imagine what happens if your selfish desires, and this is one of the three demons, one of the three trials that comes to us. Can we give up our selfish desires for something bigger than ourselves? And a child is bigger than ourselves, because the child is supposed to take up where we left off, pick up the baton, and carry us further into the reality of who we are. Because the biggest problem we have is knowing who we are. Caucasians know who they are. Asians know who they are. Hindus know who they are. Haitians know who they are. Africans know who they are. But the American black man think he's black, Afro-American, African-American. He think he's everything but what he is. Any title that we are introduced to ourselves is what we accept. We accept a God that wasn't ours. That God works for other people. It's like pork is not for us, but it's fine for other races. It's fine for whites. There were 99 different poisons in the pork that they use to cure problems in white folks. This is not racist. It's beyond race when you're talking facts. Look it up for yourself. But a lot of things that are good for them are not good for us. But the people who teach you make you think that because we black and we got melanin, we these superhuman people. But if your mind and your body and your soul are not as a connection, if it's not three, then you're lacking somewhere. The first 3 years of the life are when a child's brain grows at a rapid rate. It is the stage when the brain is most sensitive to external influence. This is the first trial in our lives, when the first major trial in our lives is when we have children. That means you have to abandon everything that you used to do of wrong in order to bring your child up at an advantage. But we're bringing our children up at a disadvantage, because they are at the bottom of law. They don't understand how to follow law, not in their minds, not in their homes, not out in the community, not in the streets. They're going to do what they want to do. They don't care about nothing. We introduce them to devil the moment they are born. And all they want to do is demon from that point on. And then we try to take them to church with people who don't even understand the condition of the sickness. How are you going to understand the illness of a people that you're not around? You're not in that place. You're not there. You don't live where they live. You don't go through what they go through. They come to church and you condemn them for who they are. You think they're coming back? But all the warriors, all of the people that God wants, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad taught that the real believers are in the street and in the jails. They're no longer in the church. Because once you start to talk in the church and people start to give you money, you tell them what they want to hear. We're going to find that in Thessalonians where it says in the book, tell us what we want to hear and we'll pay you for it. These are the demons. At the age of 3, I'm talking about 3. I said they came in 3. Every touch, movement, and emotion at this stage generates a myriad of electrical and chemical activities in the young brain as billions of cells are organizing themselves into critical neutral networks. Every touch, every action, every word, every frequency, every vibration, every smell, everything that the child experiences is becoming a part of their genetic makeup. You right there in their face, making them retarded at birth by blowing genetically modified marijuana in their face or in their vicinity. That's your child's life. And you should be willing to fight and die to protect the next generation of children. But you let your buddies and your pals, listen, I have a niece. When I got out of the hospital from my 3rd surgery, I wasn't supposed to come out, but I did because the family were at an event. And a guy, she's a girl, and she was getting ready to go back to Atlanta, but a guy lit up a cigarette in my vicinity. She turned around and said, hey, put that cigarette out. My uncle is right there, ready to put it down for what's right. But many of you let your children die before they get a chance to live because of your selfish desires and addictions that you are not strong enough to fight. This is a major trial. The Holy Quran teaches that we are all tried severely at least once a year. You can't escape that. I don't care. Excuse my voice, but I told you I got a hold of that goddamn marijuana smell. I have a lung infection, so my voice is going to go up, but I got to do this. I'm going to keep going, and I pray God protects me through it. We don't protect our children. And so all we're raising is another generation of devils. And the thing we need to understand about Lucifer and Satan, they don't make you do nothing. They introduce to you a choice. That is the trial. My son Kwame always says it wasn't a choice, but everything is a choice. I got in a big debate with a young man, said he don't like Christianity because they force you to do things. I said, they never force you to do nothing. The Bible is a choice. What are you talking about? In the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve were given a choice. God said, this is the tree of life. This is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Satan came along and said, God don't want you to be a God like him, so he don't want you to know the truth about good and evil. God didn't say that. He said that you were not prepared for it yet. And most of our children, except by the time they're 6 or 7, they think they understand life because they want to go along with what they see. They are being introduced to their first shadow, their first demon, their first trial. I'm going to read it to you. It's in the Bible. I'm going to prove it to you. It's in the Bible. But they don't touch that in the churches because they don't know how to. This wasn't their mission. I'm not downing anybody, but their job is to keep talking to you about things that are normal. Go to church and count how many times it's the same conversation. But we got to go beyond that because Christ says there is much that I have to teach you, but you're not able to bear it. Christ is a long way away. So we got to be able to bear something bigger than what has been being taught because it's no longer enough for our children. So I'm telling you, young people, y'all screwing and having babies left and right and putting them on the internet. You're proud of the baby, but I watch how you treat them. I can tell when you're high. I can tell when you're drunk. Right around your child. And they may not be able to taste the liquor, but they can feel the frequency of intoxication. Because you're not your true self. That is one of the trials. That is one of the shadows. That is one of the difficulties of life that we must fight to overcome for the next generation. And you can't hide this stuff, because in hiding, you hide the part of life your child needs to know. And so you die with all of these secrets, my Masonic family, fraternities and sororities, but your children don't know none of those secrets. And they don't care about your fraternity. They don't care about your sorority. The downside to giving knowledge, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, is that the Caucasian race took that knowledge and used it for evil, some of them. They enslaved people. This is fact. I know y'all want to love them to death. I respect them because they took the knowledge that Moses taught them and they built world after world, and they can duplicate the world over and over. So if a storm comes and knocks it down, you interview them, they say, we just got to rebuild. Black folks is falling out. White folks got the engineers and everything else to rebuild. We got engineers in our neighborhood that won't help you come and put up a curtain rod. The implication is that we're talking about what are the first 3 years are important. The implication is that all experiences your child makes during this period set the foundation for all future learning. Thus, warm and responsive care can positively affect your child's development. A child who lacks care, experience abuse, starvation, or neglect will have a weaker developed brain, and the foundation for future learning becomes weak. I have a son, Elijah, who I believe, he got abuse from me. He got neglect from me. Because I was hard on him, because I found out that he wasn't my biological son, and I was willing to raise him. He got my last name, but then his father comes in the picture and their family comes in the picture, and I couldn't pull him away from that. If you want to be with them, be with them, but you can't be with them and me if you don't respect both. But that little boy went through a lot. And so in manhood, he had to try to find his way. And I'm telling you this for your own children. So because he didn't get the love of a mother the right way, he loved on all women. And the first thing he had to do when he meet a woman is to have sex with them. That is his validation that they really love him. But he don't love them because he don't know how to love like that. All of that, he got damaged in his first 3 years of his life. And it hurts me to my heart because I know if he listened to what I'm saying, and he used to, I can help him along, but I couldn't get in the way of all of this turmoil and strife with everybody pulling him all different ways, because that's not good for him. Plus, every trial that I had, the demons were on me. I had to fight solo. So I had to believe in God. We're talking about the three demons. Their job is to test us. They can either be demons or angels or just trials. And I'm going to prove that to you in a minute. But go back and listen to why it's so important, those first 3 years of a child's life, how the brain is developing. Where are we? Genesis. Let's see. Yeah, I'm trying to find my way. Give me some time. We are 24 minutes in. We're doing real good. I may not be able to get it all in, but I want to read this to you real quick. And it's going to go fast, but I need you to understand why I'm saying what I'm saying. They come in threes. Every year, these three are coming. Every year, they're coming. You're tried severely once a year. That means you may lose life, somebody you love, you may lose your job, you may lose money, you may lose your home, but all of these trials, you still got to stay with the God that you say you love. We're going to talk about all of this right now. So let's turn to Genesis 37 and 50. I wanted to talk about Joseph a little bit, and I'm going to try to read this fast because it's so much. But it's one part of it that I wanted to read. Joseph. I don't want to do the coat of many colors. Be patient with me on this because I didn't get to write all of this down because it was too much to write. I can't find what I'm looking for right now. Yeah. I'll find it in a minute. Let's go to this real quick. Let's go to Joshua. Let's go to Joshua 5:13 and 6 through 27 of the New International Version of the Bible. We're talking about the three demons. Their job is to test us. Understand that your children are under trial the moment that they are developed, and your job as a parent is to protect them through the trial. Your job is to help them make it through so that they don't get messed up, because a child gets afraid. And if they're not able to communicate with you their fear, because you as the daddy telling them, toughen up, be tough, men, don't cry. So they go into their rooms, they masturbate, they find something to smoke, something to entertain their minds, to not have to deal with an issue that you as the parent was supposed to help them through. And then when they get into bigger trouble because they find something on that internet that finally makes them not feel afraid, and that's killing. And they start looking at these videos of these people who just shoot and kill, and you got to be a blood or a crip or a disciple, and the next thing you know, they throwing up gang signs right under your roof, right in your face. And you wondering what happened. You didn't take on your role as a parent to watch your child. Not only do I watch them now better by God's permission, I watch myself and I watch my community. And you're not getting, you can call me a snitch or a rat or whatever it is, but you're not bringing any trouble around my family without me trying to do something about it. That's what a man is supposed to do. And the child is supposed to see how the man protects his family and emulate that. As you're supposed to see the life of Christ and follow that. The fall of Jericho, I want to read this because this is about discipline, and this is about following rules, because you all think that freedom is doing what you want to do, but freedom is a trial. And if freedom is not respected and executed properly, freedom becomes anarchy. And so the gangs and the violence is not freedom, it's anarchy. They're shooting whatever, whenever, wherever. But that wasn't your job. Your job was to be united as a force to build, not to destroy. But you took the demon that came to you as a friend, and that demon is just a trial. He's going to try you in something that you love, something that feels good. But your job is to think. Meditate, but you don't have time to, because you're either high or you're listening to dirty music. You don't have a moment of clarity, not even doing sex. Sex is filthy. So the Bible says we are shaped in sin. We're born in sin and shaped in inequity. You're born out of the F word. No love involved. You're shooting angry sperm that's meeting confused eggs that develops a mentally retarded child. And on top of that, they come into a world that introduces more chemicals in the brain. And now you see these children that don't even have a thought process or don't have a moral code. They're dead. They are the walking dead. And if you watch the Walking Dead movie, no matter how fortified they were in a jail one time, they fortified the walls one time, no matter how you try to protect yourself from the Walking Dead, they get in. They get in. The fall of Jericho. I'm going to read this. I hope it don't take too long. Check this out. Now, when Joshua was near Jericho, he looked up and saw a man standing in front of him. This is one of the shadow people. He saw a man standing in front of him. Listen to this. With a drawn sword in his hand. Joshua went to him and asked, "Are you for us or for our enemy?" Listen to the answer. "Neither," he replied. "But as commander of the army of the Lord, I have now come." Then Joshua fell face down to the ground in reverence and asked him, "What message does my Lord have for his servant?" The servant of God, the messenger, the commander of the Lord came and said, "I'm not for you and I'm not against you. I got one job to do. Tell you what God told me to tell you. Either you follow it because you trust God, or you do it your own way." Joshua said, "Tell me what the Lord said. What message does my Lord have for me?" Now check this out. The commander of the Lord army replied, "Take off your sandals, for the place where you're standing is holy." And Joshua did so. Now the gates of Jericho were securely barred because of the Israelites. No one went out and no one came in. Then the Lord said to Joshua, "See, I have delivered Jericho into your hands, along with its kings and its fighting men. March around the city once with all the army men. Do this for 6 days." God said to walk around a building for 6 days. He didn't tell them what the end result was going to be. Then he said, "Have 7 priests carry trumpets of ram horns in front of the ark on the 7th day. March around the city 7 times with the priests blowing their trumpets." 7 times on the 7th day. When you hear them sound a long blast on the trumpet, have the whole army give a loud shout. Then the walls of the city will collapse and the army will go up, everyone straight in. Joshua did what he was commanded to do, and he was successful. But the person who came to him said, "I'm not for you or against you." Understand, in the Garden of Eden, Satan wasn't for Adam and Eve, and he wasn't against him. His job was to launch an attack. And God permitted the attack. That was one of their major trials. That they failed from Genesis all the way to Revelations. Because out of all of the preaching we doing, we never got back to the Garden of Eden. So in the book of Revelations, the whole world had to be destroyed. Not the earth, the world that we live. This plane had to be destroyed because we never understood why Adam and Eve got ejected from Eden. And we never got back. We're talking about the 3 demons, their job. I've read some of the stuff to you already. Go back and listen to it, please. And I want to read this to you real quick. This is the Psalms 23. We repeat it all the time. I'm talking about the shadow people. I got to say this. Psalms of David. "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leadeth me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. The Lord. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies." Now, here is the thing. Someone is always trying to introduce you to some enemy. Satan got you young boys out there thinking that you got ops outside of yourself, but all of your opposition is inside of you, sirs, ma'ams. You're angry children who can't deal with your emotions, so you express them outside. If somebody look at you funny, you offended, he a op. You protect your life. These my brothers. You kill my brothers, you kill me. What about the people y'all kill? So since you don't listen to reason, this is my warning. The moment you execute a crime against somebody, whether they are in another gang or whether they are an innocent person protecting their family, retribution is going to be swift. Not next week, Not an hour from, they coming right behind you to kill you because you deserve it. Because the warnings are coming and you are not taking them. Not just you, politicians who are crooked to the core, your time is coming too. Preachers, business people. This going to take thousands of years to because you can't face reality. So the demons are out. And any one of your children who are talking about being on demon time, they're not lying. They saw the shadow people and they accepted what they saw. But the one thing about the shadow people is that they do not show you the ending of it. It's always disaster at the end. Always. All right. We're talking about the three demons. They're here. I want to talk to you about Job for a minute. Job, shadow person came to God. God recognized him. And God pulled back his protection of Job and allowed the demon to attack. Job was under attack. Like most of us are under attack. And now we think we can fight it with guns. We got the switches now. We got the binary switch now, just automatic gunfire, but you're going to run out of ammunition sooner or later. The workaround behind a switch that somebody is shooting 30 is to let them shoot the 30. Then they got to reload, but they'll be dead by the time they reload. There's always a workaround. Every time a demon gives you something, he also gives the other person something too. They can use it just like you use it. The three shadows. This is what we need to be teaching our children. All you young people, y'all are following a demonic energy. This ain't no spook. This ain't that red devil with horn. This is real. It's inside of you. It's a part of you that was touched by something outside of you that influenced you, that made you feel like if I do this, I will feel better. Satan's first attack on Job. Listen to this. Listen to this all. We're 37 minutes in. Now, there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord. Sons of God presenting themselves before the Lord. And Satan came also among them. Satan right there in the midst of the sons of God who couldn't recognize Satan because they don't know how to recognize a real enemy. You don't know how to recognize a real enemy. You were trained that your enemy looks like you and you believed it. Everything is the N-word, N-word, N. You even letting the white boys say the N-word. Mexicans say the N. Everybody can say the N-word and describe your people as such. Now, let me tell you something. Mothers, you're losing your children, but you think you win. They have learned how to fool you. And if you're not out in the street, you don't know what they're doing. But we know. Not only do I know what they're doing, I know what my own in my house is doing. Now, Satan is right there with the sons of God, and they don't even know it. Listen to this. And the Lord said unto Satan, whence cometh thou? The Lord recognized him. Then Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. And the Lord said unto Satan, hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and upright man, one that feareth God and escheweth evil? God asked Satan, have you considered trying my servant Job? God did that. But ministers and preachers will tell you God ain't got nothing to do with bad. You're gonna be tried. God uses every part of his world. He kicked Satan out of heaven, but Satan is used to test people. In the Quran, when God threw him out, Satan says, respite me until the day that they are raised into the knowledge of me. And God said, surely you are of the respited ones. And Satan turned back around and says, because you have caused me to fail, I'm going to go after every single person on the earth to turn them against you. And God says, surely I will fill hell with you all. So if everybody is in hell and hell looks like fun and we got a herd mentality, we ain't going over there with one person. We like to be with the crowd, not me. I'm a loner. I like being alone. I see clearer when I'm alone. I like time with people, but I don't have to stay there with them all day, every day. I never was that way, thank God. But some of us can't identify unless we taking pictures with everybody. Click, 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 click. A lover of everybody is a lover of nobody. You don't even love yourself. So check this out now. Then Satan answers the Lord and said, does Job fear God for naught? Has not thou made an hedge about him and about his house and about all that he hath on every side, that thou hast blessed the work of his hands, and his substance is increased in the land? But put forth thine hand now, Satan says to God, and touch all that he has, and he will curse thee to thy face. God had to do that. Satan said, God, Lord, put forth your hand and take everything he got, and he will curse you to your face. He had to ask permission from God. But the church is telling you that God doesn't destroy. God is the author of the tornado that hit Memphis. God is the author of Hurricane Hugo, Hurricane Andrew, Hurricane Daniel. Any destructive storm, God is the author of it. Satan is underneath God. Satan must ask permission from God. If you do it, if you allow me in, and Satan has no way in unless God allows him in. So that's why we should fear God. Because although you look at these shadows, these demons, they are not the author of their actions. They trigger something in you that you desire to do, and you justify it by what you think you saw. And you don't question it. So Satan said, but put forth thine hand now and touch all that he hath, and he will curse thee to thy face. And the Lord said unto Satan, behold, all that he has is in thy power. God turned it over to Satan. God turned it over to Satan. We fear God, not Satan, no matter how much power he got, no matter what kind of gun you got, how many switches you got on it. God is the author of that. And then once we can put that in our soul, we can eliminate this problem of anarchy quick. So I've been trying for 30 years to understand it. And more, you got to pick up the sword, the full armor of God, and fight these shadow people. It's not the person. The person has succumbed to an energy that they can be saved from. Our children can be saved. They can be exorcised. The demons can be removed, but you must know what to do and how to do it. Jesus proved it. When he cast the demons into the swine and they ran off the cliff, they begged Christ, just don't kill us, put us into something else. We can win. But we must not be joining into what they're doing, because what they're doing is of this world and it is not beneficial. And we're destroying our children daily from our desires that we put on them. Why the heck would you want to make another you just because you got a degree? You crazy. I'm crazy. We want children of God. We want to baptize them into the energy and spirit of God. Is the only thing you should fear. Because death is coming to everybody, and you can determine how you die. Either you die noble, protecting your family, your community, your belief system, or you die in rebellion to God. I died. I didn't go down. I kept going up. I saw some beautiful, I didn't want to come back here. I did not. When I died, I didn't want to come back. But it wasn't my time to stay. But I saw beautiful things. I saw cities and islands. I kept going up higher and higher, and then I just dropped back down into my body. And the first thing I said was, I ain't going through that no more. Y'all ain't gonna do this to me again. And the nurses thought that was the funniest thing, because they say nobody comes from under that kind of anesthesia talking like you talk. I didn't feel like I was under any anesthesia. I was with God. I was up high. I saw islands and snow, and it was also pretty. And I was like, I'm staying here. So Job, but put forth thine hand, as Satan asked to God. And the Lord said unto Satan, behold, all that he hath is in your power. Only upon himself put not forth thine hand. So Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord, and God kept his promise, and he destroyed Job's children. And these are the trials. Job was attacked by Satan. Job was attacked by Satan by God's permission. He destroyed Job's character. He destroyed Job's family. He just took away his property, everything, health, the three things, the character, the family, and the health. And it got so bad that Job's wife told him, why don't you just curse God and die? And Job told his wife, you speak as the foolish. Without God, what do I have? So he suffered without knowing the time limit to his suffering. But in his suffering, he found that he had impediments, even though he was a righteous man. Even though he was a righteous man, he found that he had impediments. And when he began to question God, God told him, ask him, were you here when I made the earth? When I made the first trees, were you here? It's like you talking like you a God yourself. And that's how pastors are talking now, like they gods. But if you say one of the 5% gods of the gods on earth say something like that, I'm a god, they want to condemn you. But they say it every day. The Lord is telling me, and if you come to get your hand, if I touch you, you're going to be saved, and you're going to, okay, prove it. Because I see a lot of people dying that y'all put your hands on. You don't have no power unless God give it to you. And you can holler and yell all you want. But if you're doing it in arrogance and egotistical spirit, God ain't there. That is the shadow people who's making you think that you are something that you are not. And I'm going to tell you this. I see these people. I see that dark aura around you. If I can look into your eyes, I can see it. Or if I see you from a distance, I can see it. You're just a black figure. But I'm not the author of the seeing. God gives me the sight. I told you about my son Kwame. When he was born, he was around 3, 4. And I woke up and he was playing in the living room. And I saw the 3 shadows standing there. And I tried to block him from it, but they went right through me, got to him. He been going through trials all his life. Good dude. As most of our children are, really good children, but they're going to be tried and you can't stop it, but you can educate them. So the 3 trials that Job went through were 3 devils. Even his buddies came and condemned him. What you did, Job? What you did, man? Okay. I'm scratching out stuff. Again, I said these 3 shadows will either build you or they will destroy you. It's one or the other. One or the other. We're almost done. And as you know, when Jesus was on the cross, I wanted to do that one last, but I want to say this about Peter, that Peter denied Jesus 3 times before the 3 times as Jesus told him that he would deny him, and he did. He denied him in 3 different ways. But the last time he denied Christ, he denied him with profanity. I don't know that blankety blank so-and-so to save his own life. To save his own life, he did that. Okay, let's go into, I really wanted to find this thing that I had. Yeah, I really wanted to find that, but I didn't get to find it. I apologize, but we are doing great so far. Thank God for that. Peter denied Jesus 3 times. Those were the 3 devils that he had to face all at one time. And Jesus told him ahead of time, before the crow croaks 3 times, you're going to be to deny me 3 times. And he's sitting up there talking, no, not me, Lord. I wouldn't do that, Lord. Like many of y'all claim y'all so solid and don't snitch, man, please. It ain't no honor out there like that. You got to have a moral code already embedded in you. Nobody can give you that, because when you by yourself, you're going to fold, man. One minute you're red, next week you're blue, next week you're black, then you're pink and yellow. You go wherever the wind blow. But swear you solid to the core. That is your trial. Whatever level you are on in life, them demons are there. If you think the street is the only place where killers are, you crazy. They're sophisticated killers. Then there are you loud murderers. Y'all different. You don't get no money from it. You don't get nothing. They got hitmen out there that you can buy off the dark web to kill anybody. You can get anybody killed for a price. As low as $100, they will kill somebody for you. But y'all got no moral code. Y'all just murdering people. But from church to politics to the street, Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches that there is a agent on every level. Whether it's an agent of good or agent of bad, we'll find out. But the demons are there. And keep in mind that 3 times each year you will be tried. Everybody must go through it. You never escape it. So our children are trying to escape their trials through staying high. But you're going to smoke so much marijuana that it's not going to affect you anymore. So now you're going to have to do like they did in the 80s and the 90s that destroyed our families. You start mixing that marijuana with cocaine and smoking it. Then you mix it with crack and smoke it. Now you're mixing it with fentanyl and smoking it. But either way, it destroys you. You know how many families were destroyed through that crack era that y'all promote and talk about, and y'all lost y'all mamas to AIDS and to crime and to jail and to death, early death, and still bragging about it, which means you ain't learned nothing. My father was an alcoholic. He beat my mom. I swore off liquor. I never drank it. I would take a sip for, a birthday or something, but I never been drunk in my life. I got addicted to pain pills because when I lost the feeling in my hand and couldn't do airbrushing and stuff anymore, I fell into a depression that nobody will ever understand unless you've been into depression. And those pills made me forget, and I turned around and I was addicted. But I prayed and I asked God to help me, and he told me pinch off a little piece of pill and keep taking them until your body don't need it no more. And I did that, and I gave that advice to another young brother, and he did it recently. And he hit me up and said, it's working, Unc. It's working. So everything that you learn from God, you got to share it. There's no time I'm going to do it next year. I'm going to start losing weight for New Year's. Start right now, because tomorrow is not promised. Today is the only reality. Right now is my only reality. A bullet could come through the wall and kill me in the next second. I can have a heart attack. This is my reality. This is my heaven. This is my moment, and it's yours. Make the change now. Of course, you all know in sports, 3 strikes and you're out. If you disobey God on 3 different occasions in the wrong way when you're tested, you're out. That's it. It's done. So most trials comes in sets of 3s, but definitely we all will be tested. And from the age of 3, a child is being tested because 80% of their brain is developing. By the time they're 5, their brain is developed to 90%. Look it up. And whatever you have put in their brain is what they are. So critical race theory is erasing our history as black people. Black people are under attack. The LGBTQ community was with us from the beginning. There ain't nothing new. 75% of the people who marched with Dr. King in the March on Washington were gays and lesbians. The author of the march was Bayard Rustin, a known full homosexual that helped organize the march by bringing in everybody for civil rights. So everything we got from the college fund to housing and everything else, it was for minorities, for white females, black males, and black females. Now they're trying to erase black altogether. They're even trying to get the fraternities out of the colleges. Now all our children can relate to is love and hip hop, love and basketball, all of these crazy behind shows that don't amount to nothing. They think they're heroes are gangsters and killers and murderers, and the adults right there with them. Let me tell you something. We 54 minutes in. I say, give me an hour and 20 minutes. I watched Boys in the Hood. I watched Minister Society with my sons when they were young. I told my friend at the time, I'm doing this to see their reaction to the movie. My son Elijah gravitated so much to gangster and killing and that lifestyle. I made a mistake doing that, but I thought I was doing right, but I did wrong. And I remember him saying to me, I can't wait to go to prison so I can lift weights and get big. And I said, well, you could get weights now and I'll buy you weights and you can get big. Nah, you don't want that. So he did his prison time and he sure came out big. But now he got all these other problems because that shadow person led him into a lie. And I didn't fight hard enough to protect him from the lie. I fought hard with my son, little Keith, but he ran away. He was a runner. Pew! Gone. I don't know whether he's facing his issues now or not, but you're going to have, God is not going to, and each time you deny one of these shadows, not only do you have 3 for that year, you got 4, 5, and 6 because you ain't dealt with your problems from the last 3. They had this show out called Final Destination, where you escape death, but it keeps following you until it catches up. It's not so much talking about a physical death, but you haven't faced the reality of the trial that God allows Satan to put you in. You think partying is going to get you away from it, but partying is going to run out. Something's going to happen. You think church is going to do it, but you're going to get to a church where you love and find out that them people in there just as bad as the people in the street. That's with the mosque and everything else. I fell out with the mosque because I found out they were just as bad as the people in the street. But the teachings I didn't fall out with because it helped me. And I'm going to represent Islam for the rest of my life. Christianity too, Buddhism too, Hebrew too. I understand how they're connected. They are connected. And as Jesus said, if they are not against us, they are for us. I'm almost done. Talked about Peter being denied. Did you know that Jesus died at 3 o'clock? Jesus died at 3 o'clock on Good Friday, 3 o'clock on Good Friday. That's that 3. And Jesus' last 3 words were, it is finished. Those were his last 3 words. But Jesus was tempted on the mount, and he begged God to take the bitter cup from him that he had to face because he didn't want to die for a people that he knew would not respect his death or understand it properly. Now you got people now talking Jesus, but they wasn't talking it back then when Christians were being fed to the lions. And if Christianity becomes prohibited religious belief again, half of them going to run. They're not as tough in God as you think, but I can read them a mile away. All that God, amen, amen. I don't want to hear that stuff, man. Either you are or you not. And acts of kindness does not make you righteous. Everybody perform acts of kindness. Everybody can get food from a food bank and bring it to the community and look like you care about the people. That's for you. It's not for them. Because the right people never get the food. Because the right people get the food, they ain't got no way to cook it because they ain't got no lights. They ain't got no heat. But we ain't going that deep in. It's like the lawyers out here now. These are ambulance chasers. They all on the news, Bill Green and all of them, so Master Pulo about what they'll do. Call them for a real case. They won't take it. We're talking about the 3 demons. Jesus died at 3 o'clock. Jesus was tested 3 times on the mount. The first test was Satan came to him and said, John 6:26 and 31, you could turn this bread into stone since you fasted. I know you're hungry. Jesus said, nah, I'm good. Then he comes back and he says, jump from the temple, John 2:18. Tempt God. Jesus said you don't test God. See, most of you test God all the time. You're losing your battle with that shadow person that came to you and told you that you're something that you're not. If something comes to you in a dream and says you're great, question it. How can I be great when only God is great? If something comes to your mind and tell you that you're holy and sanctified and you should preach, question it. Who are you? And wait for the answer. How can I be that person when I know my faults? I know I'm gay. I know I love men. I love penis in my behind. How can I be that person? What can I do for God? And then if the answer is clear, then go on and do what you were supposed to do. But don't just start thinking that you're right because you meet a shadow person. Their job is to give you what you desire, to tell you what you want to hear. You right about everything until people start falling away from you because you're not right about everything. Teach your children. And then finally, Satan told Jesus, you can have the whole world. John 6:15. Jesus answered him very clear, get thee behind me, Satan. I'm going to go with God. Yeah, but God is getting ready to kill you. Allow you to be killed. And Jesus begged God, if you could remove this bitter cup, nonetheless, not my will, but your will be done. So he accepted his fate. See, most of us can't accept our fate. So we dance around life in misery, trying to live out something that we should have went straight forward and dealt with. Teach your children how to deal with it. Do you know that the promised land could have been taken in 30 days because there were giants in the promised land? Read it for yourself. Moses sent scouts to the promised land. They came back with fruits and stuff and said, yep, everything is there just like God said. All we got to do is what God said to do and go fight. But do you know the elders would not fight? So as a punishment, they had to wander in the desert for 40 years until they died. Do you know the elders today are doing the same thing? They're not fighting because they got some type of reward from this world. They got money. They driving fancy. They're not going to say nothing to help these children. Where the ministers at talking about the violence? Where those at that are understanding that children are not just going to accept Christianity? Some people just want to do right. Why are you condemning a person that wants to do right? Jesus said, if they are not against us, they are for us. Why they got to do it your way? Because something that you heard made you to think that you are God's chosen. But yet Christ said throughout his lifetime, not my will, but God's will. He never took the spot of God, but you all are taking God's position. We're hour and 2 minutes in. The main sins of the world is pride, rebellion, and unbelief. Believe it or not, most of the people around you don't even believe in God. They talk God, but they don't believe it because they don't do any of the hard work. They don't make noise. They love everybody. How can you love everybody? Somebody's got to be right and somebody's got to be wrong. Your child may be hell on wheels, but don't give up on them. Not if you know it's something we did wrong, but they got to serve their jail time. They murdered somebody. Don't help them get away. Serve your time. You did that. Of course you don't want them harmed behind bars, but look, man, you took a life. That's the game. You played it. The shadow person came to you and you did it. I had a situation on Sugar Hill where I had to summon one of them, where I walked around and then something said, all you got to do is call me and I come. I'll make you a killer. And when it was time to calm down, I ended up putting a hole in the wall because I was so angry. But the whole time, the people I was angry with over there saying he ain't going to do nothing. And I'm thinking to myself, they out their damn mind. I am going to do something. All I need is for you to do one thing, and I'm going to answer you. I'm ready right now. No fear, no nothing. but there would have been a consequence behind that. And thanks to Farouk and my son Kwame, who explained to me the consequences behind it, and my wife. And over time, I calmed down, but anytime you're in a high emotional state, they coming. I'm going to tell you one day what these shadow peoples did to my son now, Zion. And I kept trying to tell him, don't run from it. Listen to it. Listen to it. Tell me what he tells you and come back and tell me verbatim, and I can walk you through it. All of our children are tried. Some of them are on their way to great careers like Jay Morant, but that shadow demon is right there telling him, you $200 million, you great. And nobody is checking it. Some of these young boys who are going from high school to college ball, they're sick. They got mental problems, and we're not dealing with the mental problem. We just, the Lord, the Lord, the Lord. Nobody escapes the demons, man. They're going to either be your friend or your enemy. Lucifer, son of the morning. Lucifer is the light bearer. He shows you the side of something that may make you think that's it, but he don't show you the back end of it. But if you follow it, there are consequences. Now, finally, the three wise men who were trying to protect Christ before he was born. This is us. I told you from the beginning, you got to sacrifice everything for your child when they're born. I'm going to read that and then we're done. I didn't get everything that I wanted to get, but we did okay. Now, we're going into metaphysics right now real quick, because you got to learn esoteric knowledge. You got to learn metaphysical knowledge. You got to learn Gnostic knowledge. All of these things are valuable. Metaphysical meaning of the wise men. Metaphysical meaning of the wise men from the East in Matthew 21. Meta, the stored up resource of the soul, which rises to the surface when its depths are stirred by a great spiritual revelation. The soul is in the belly. They used to make songs back in the day, Fire and Desire. Send fire through my spine, just a little bit. That fire that comes from the bottom of the spine is wrapped around 3.5 times at the bottom of your spine. It's called, in Hindu, it's called the Kundalini. Sometimes in sexual relations, it rises and you see visions. Sometimes when you're afraid, it rises. Sometimes when you fast, it rises. Sometimes you can fall down or get hurt and you see a vision. That's what sparks that fire in us, in the soul. They are the inner realms of consciousness that, like books of life, have kept the records of past lives and held them in reserve for the great day when the soul would receive the supreme ego. Now, we are the only brand of no ego in anywhere, the only brand that I know of. But the supreme ego is the proper understanding of God, so we're coming out with supreme ego too. But once you receive the supreme ego as Jesus did, the balance, the wise men represented the wisdom that is carried within the soul from previous incarnations. The East represents the within man's inner consciousness. I told my son one time, when you pray, you're praying to the East, but you're praying to yourself. Don't look for anything in the East. You don't know what's over there. Hell is over there. But you're praying for the East in yourself. To all of those who pray, to all of those Muslims who pray, you're praying to yourself. But it's a part of you that you don't know. And you're awakening the supreme ego. You're awakening the Kundalini, the consciousness that gives you moral code. The wise man represents the wisdom that is carried with the soul from previous incarnations. The East represents the within man's inner consciousness. They bring gifts to the Christ child. And that Christ child is in you, because Jesus says we are all gods, children of the Most High God. We are all gods, children of the Most High God. So that Christ consciousness is a part of us. We are all Christ. We are all crystallized into a oneness with God. We got a heartstring that connects to the God energy until we cut it. Until you decide you want to accept one of these demonic energies as your God. All right. Somebody's trying to call me. Let me get that out of the way so we can finish. And we're almost done. The inner resource of spirit, which are open to the Christ mind. Let me read that again. They bring gifts to the Christ child. The inner resources of spirit, which are open to the Christ mind. They bring gold, which represents the riches of spirit. They bring frankincense, the beauty of the spirit, and they bring myrrh, the eternity of the spirit. The star that the wise men saw in the east represents intuition. The wise men were guided by intuition. Stars represent subjective and not fully understood guiding lights. As I said before, we get guidance and we don't fully understand it, but we run with it too fast. I have a minister, when I hurt my hand, who said that my ex-wife did it. She was close, but she thinks that my ex-wife cut me. It didn't happen that way. And every time I try to tell her it didn't happen that way, she don't believe me because something told her something, but she didn't wait for the full answer. And she don't even believe the person who's trying to tell her the answer. So we are damaging the line of divine by putting our own opinions into this thing. You must study. You must protect your children from birth, or else we're going deeper and deeper into demonic energy. And the world is separating itself from black people, the uncivilized. All of these communities that they're building, they don't want us in them. And you think that what's going to happen is you're going to kill so much till you end up killing yourself. And that's what's happening. Young men killing their family, then killing themselves. You can't kill forever. Killing is not natural. It's unnatural. Teach your children that God wants them for himself. He's got a job for them with reward for himself. Don't mean you can't listen to music and have a good time, but you got to do things in moderations. I thank you all for listening. I think we got it all out. If you have any questions, leave them and I'll discuss it later. But pay attention. Please go back and listen. Thank you all for listening. This is Jamil Salib Zamir out of Manning, South Carolina. And this has been Community Candid. The three demons, their job is to test us. You all will get it 3 times a year. And you're tested once severely every year. You can't escape it. And if you run from it, it piles up. And that's called your karma. Your karma piles up and you can't deal with it. But if you deal with it, when it happens and correct the imperfections, then you build dharma, which is good energy. Start to build, young men, because you're making it bad. And if you decide you want to die, take the little bit of nickels and dimes you're making out in the street, get some death insurance, and give the policy to your mama or your baby mama, and keep it paid up so they don't have to go on GoFundMe to bury you behind. We're gone. Blessings.
Thank you so very much for tuning in to this month installment of the 19 Report. I am your host, Brother Johnny. I walked a thin line between right and wrong, took my fears to God, then I wrote this song. The spirit kept calling, so I answered the phone, and then I manned up and got some backbone. My mind resonates at a much higher tone, solid foundation, empire zone. 3 mountains, I'm in one, right to left counted, 9 and then 1, left to right switch it, 1 and then 9, west to east, south to north, a thin line. I know Christ exists, cause his mercy allows me a chance to stand 3 on a square. Yeah, we in there. This is Brother Johnny of Groove 19 Promotions.